trying to do it in
Yeah,
one
sure.
year.
I could see that being the case. I probably thought the same thing the first time I heard about it years ago.
I'm sure I did too, and I was like, "What? That's
But
insane."
but some people, I mean, it could be done in a year. Can't imagine. Have people done it in a year that you're aware of?
In the Adirondacks, not that I'm aware of, but I do know of two people in New Hampshire that have done it in a well-planned
Cool.
year.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I think one of them was even he did it in like somehow he was able to do it in 10 months. Like he started in the last week of 1 month and then the first week of the last month. It was
Hmm.
something really weird, but he worked out. But it was like, how?
Sure. So you're 6 rounds in right now, and how many mountains would you say you are to finishing your next round, or maybe your next two or three at the same time? How far into that are you?
Um, Next round is I'm like five away from round
Okay,
7.
man.
Yeah.
Is there any round that I mean, do you even remember them as rounds at this point, or are they really just mountains in months? Or is there any round in particular that was like everything went super smoothly for this batch, or everything went so wrong so consistently for this round?
Really the only two rounds I can remember, like I specifically remember, are my first and then my single season.
Hmm.
And then everything else is just like, I need this mountain in this month. Oh, look, I finished this round on the same time.
Sure. So what are
Yeah.
what's the most amount of high peaks that you finished in 1 week?
Um, in 1 week, what we did, hang on,
Because I know you're out there multiple times a week, especially since that's how you've aligned your whole life to be able to do that.
right. Yeah. So my single season, I did was like the Three Sewards one day, and then I did Algonquin and Iroquois the next. I took Wednesday off. I did the four Dixes on Thursday. Then I had to be in the Santas or two Santas on Friday, and then I did Dix on Saturday.
Hold on, I'm
So
gonna
that
need to
was
write these down. I'm gonna need to go through that again. Hit me with
right.
those again.
So I did Three Sewards, Algonquin and Iroquois. Wednesday I took off. Then it was four Dixes, uh, Santa or Panther. It was Panther and Couch, sorry, and then Dix on that Saturday.
And then you went back just for dicks. Oof. I'll
Yep.
have to get to that after, but let's see, 6, 7, 10. That's 12 high peaks in 1 week. That's a
Right.
week right there. My God. Do you remember why you had to go back for dicks?
We did the four. It was my buddy Kyle and I, and then he was finishing his winter round on Dix, so we headed out of the woods because it was getting late, and came back with some friends for Dix.
Got it. I've never been up
Yep.
the Beckhorn Trail to Dix, which I assume is probably what you took. But
We actually went up from Round Pond
okay,
because it was
okay,
winter.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been up the Beckhorn Trail. I've only been down it. But that's a trail I don't really think I want to go up it. My God, is it so steep and just so long. Uh, so anytime I hear someone say that they hiked Dix, I just always assume that's probably the trail they went up, and I always in my heart think, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm not hiking up that trail right now. Remember the
Right.
first time I came down it and just thinking to myself, this is just never
This is
ending, and it's
crazy.
so steep.
Yeah.
My God, it's a
Yeah.
good day though.
That is another great range. Yeah.
So you do a lot of hiking with your dog. What's the biggest day that you've done with your dog? And then how did you get around? I know obviously there's different routes up, but I know a lot of people listening probably aren't super aware. But when you go to the Au Sable Club, you can't bring your dog there. So what are the ways around
So
that,
for
and what are the trails you take for those mountains?
so for Sawtooth, you have to go from the guard. Well, you don't have to, but you go from the garden up over Gothic's Pyramid down to Sawtooth, and then you have to go back out that way. So that's a monster day for a dog.
Hmm.
And then Colvin, Blake, Dial a nipple top, I would recommend to anybody doing as one big trip if you possibly could. But I broke it up not knowing how strenuous Colvin and Blake from Elk Lake would be, or oh yeah, from Elk Lake would be. And going back to Blake to Elk Lake was brutal. And Dial Nipple Top, we went up from Gravestone Brook, which you get to from Round Pond Trailhead.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. Yep.
Very cool. And what do you bring for your dog when you go out there?
I have a handle with a harness on it, tons of food, or sorry, a harness with a handle, yeah. Tons of food, water, treats. I actually carry extra like little socks for him because one time he like dug his toenails too short, so his toenails were bleeding. So we like taped a sock on his foot, and that kept him going.
Mm-hmm.
Different first aid kit things, but and sometimes a coat.
Okay.
But he's pretty low maintenance, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard enough to do by yourself, but then having to make sure your dog is better off than you are, definitely something to keep in mind. Now, did you do any camp? Have you done any camping when you're doing all these days?
My camping is very limited. I haven't backpacked in years, honestly. It's just I don't like the idea of carrying a big pack.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So now, if there's let's talk. Now we've heard so much about your experience out there. So if somebody else wanted to tackle the grid, and start, tallying this and kind of going for that goal, what is something that you would tell them, or what do you tell people as far as like advice, how to break things up, how to think, your mindset? Obviously this is a marathon, not a sprint by far, but
literally just got to take it month by month, and that's what you have to look at. Like I have these 17 peaks to do this month, and this is what I'm working on. I've done other hikes outside of those. I'm not set on those 17 peaks, but if I could hit those 17, it'd be good. And just, it's frustrating. Like some days you just don't want to go to Blake. Some days you just don't want to do that. And it's like, but I have to, because am I going to come back in a week because I only went to Colvin? So it's frustrating, but yet the most rewarding goal too.
Sure. That makes perfect sense. So now you're tackling the grid because it's something that it's a big accomplishable goal, and you started to do it when you were over 100, as I mentioned earlier. Now that you're not necessarily like towards the end, because from someone listening, if they hear you're at 401 and there's 552 left, like you're getting towards the end, and I'm sure in your mind you're like, I'm so damn far from the end right now. But you're like, you're way closer than you are from the start. How does that make you feel, knowing like, wow, I'm actually doing it. I'm getting there.
In a way, it makes me sad.
Oh,
which is weird because, but when I finished my 46, I remember like feeling empty. It's like, I finished my 46. I've just dedicated so much time to this. Now what do I do?
Sure.
And then there was like the 115, and I just went on to things, and now it's like when I finished the grid, it's like then what? Like now what do I do?
Oh, I get it.
But there's also like the excitement, and I can't wait to do it. Like I've have a whole big thing planned for Whiteface. Like
sure, cool. Now, are you going to do one of those like drive up to the top, hike down, and then hike back up so that you can be with people when you actually finish, or how's that plan going to be?
Oh, I never even thought of that.
Oh yeah, I just heard of people doing that as like their 46er finish as a way to like celebrate with people, not at the trailhead, but like at the top of Whiteface.
Yeah, I've never even thought about that. But no, I'm just gonna have people hike up with me. If people want to drive up, my parents are gonna drive up. Just really whatever they feel like doing. I'm gonna try and take one of the slides up. We'll see how that goes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So now, months would you say are? What months? Those are like, that's like the only thing we haven't talked about yet. So what months would you say are your favorite, and what months would you say have been just the worst? I have a feeling I'd bet the springtime is probably the worst due to the conditions, but I could be wrong.
If you can get early April, like that's a good time. But anything like the second half of April normally turns to crap. May can be tricky. We've done like have like shorts on and snowshoes on in May.
Sure.
Like that's a funny thing. Um, so those months are bad. October can be bad because you can have a lot of flooding. But I really like June, July, February, and March are like the perfect
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
months. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. And
Yep.
December too, it's like you're in full blown winter mode at that point. And as far as the high peaks go, not a lot of people are hiking in December.
Especially early December, you're pretty much breaking trail
Yeah, that's
every
what I would
time.
figure. I would figure you
Yeah.
would be. Sure. Man,
Yep.
shorts and snowshoes. I've definitely
In
never
May.
experienced that, but sounds like a good time.
It was pretty hilarious. It was like 60 degrees out, but we're on Dial and Nipple Top, and like there's still knee deep snow up there, and we're like, all right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have plenty of pictures of that. That's very
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Definitely something I've never. I mean, I can imagine, being in a t-shirt and with snowshoes on your pants and stuff, but starting with shorts and then having to go to the snowshoes. That's very funny.
Right.
Cool. Well, so at this point, you mentioned if all things go according to plan, you'll finish in 2022. Did you say?
Yep.
What
I
month?
mean, October.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Cool.
Yep. I mean, I still have a hope for next month or next year if I can pull off a miracle in April,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
Great. Well, good luck with it. So now, I've got a couple final questions that I always ask. I always ask the people on the show. First question is, what are some must-have items that you always keep in your backpack?
I always have my number one different thing that people is a raincoat. Like I always have a raincoat because it can be wind, it can be sun, it can be any type of weather coat. And then I'm always make sure to have like headlamps, backup batteries, because we're typically into nighttime anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Typical maps, but I don't have anything too much out of the unusual.
Okay, so typically you're staying with the essentials. You don't have any specific items that are must-haves for you that probably super different from others.
No.
All right, cool. So now you've hiked all over the place, plenty of different states and different areas. What do you think makes the Adirondacks a unique place in your mind?
The ruggedness and how we pretty much, well, just go, oh, there's a drainage, we're gonna go straight up that. Like
Sure. Yeah.
most trails are like New Hampshire is really well graded and they have tons of switchbacks and they've done a lot of work over there. I mean, we have too, but it's different.
Yeah, I had Eric Schlimmer on the show recently, and he made the and he's done trail work in, I think he said 7 or 8 different states, and he is like a total trail building guy. He made the bold declaration that the trails in the Adirondacks are the worst trails in the country.
Yeah.
For the reason of, they just were like, oh, we need a trail up this mountain. All right, let's just go straight up here. Boom, right to the top. But it's funny that tends to be a lot of people's answers with in regards to the trails. It's like, you just kind of go up the drainage and just follow it until it's not wet anymore, and you'll see the summit.
Right, and then it'll be right there. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So now my last question that I always ask people, why do you hike? And for you in particular, why put yourself through something so mentally and physically and probably spiritually difficult when you don't have to? What's the reasoning that has you're going after this goal?
I mean, it really just being out there makes me happy. It's like my sense of therapy in the woods. I I tell people I go out there to laugh, I go out there to cry, I go out there to do whatever like I'm feeling in the moment. Um, just a sense of like pushing yourself and seeing what you can accomplish and keep going like the one step further. Like it's really you just keep walking. You just got to keep putting your one foot in front of the other over and over again. And it's amazing what you're able to accomplish.
100% agree with that. Absolutely. So now if people have questions on the grid or they want to pick your brain a little bit, where can they find you?
I'm all over Facebook. I'm on Instagram.